Well, we've got an eye. Hello. See if anybody pops in. Let's see if Chris pops in. Right. I'm going to freeze on the camera just then. What Australian of Americans tasting Australian food? I think good on them. It's interesting to watch how these Rocker over there in America, he's getting all the Australians from Tasmania and Perth and South Australia, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, just everywhere. They're sending him over all the different types of food, to chips to whatever, hundreds and thousands, and then he likes all the different types of Australian chicken salt. I mean, the guy, if he gets 10,000 views, 20,000 views, so what? He's happy over there, and people are willing to send him over $120 package full of Australian memorabilia, or cars and bits of paper. I've done that. It costs about $120. So done it once, not going to do it anymore. Boxes of Tim Tam and Smith chips and all the rest of it. Anyway, so White Rocker, if you get to see this, hope to hear from you. It's raining outside, so I'll put the jumper on. Yeah, in November it should be nice and hot. It's not, it's raining. But anyway, that's something to do with it. This is all going to be history anyway. So just sort of say a little cheerio to a few people. Who else we got? Look at famous Crouton Bear. She's over in Houston, Texas. She's on Rumble, not YouTube. Dreadpool 26, and then you've got Josh Bartley's coin pusher. He's still pushing away. He doesn't do any more live chats anymore. He used to do them when Jeffrey was alive, but since Jeffrey died, he won't do them anymore. He sort of fizzled out. He's sort of too much controversy with a live chat because people ask him any questions. Anyway, there's too much controversy over it. So me, I'm just a man that does me stories. Anyway, tell you what we'll do. We'll do a yowie story. Don't do a yowie. Right. Well, my old tablet's disappeared. Yowie story. I'll put the camera down a bit so you can see me. I'm sitting. That's better. Now I don't get an aching back. I don't sit up in my shoulders. Just getting tired. So what's everybody been up to? Leave me a comment. You've had anything sign on the channel live? I think we're all sick and tired of hearing about COVID-19. Yowie Hunters interviews. No, I don't think it was Yowie Hunters, but no, Yowie Hunters. Let's go. Oh, God, lost it. There's always a way you do something. I'm just going into their website. And website, there we go, Yowie Hunters website. And we'll go look up a couple of stories. Yowie Hunters research, Queensland, New South Wales. What is a Yowie? Oh, yeah, that's good. Yowie Hunters proved it existed mythical. One at ABC agreed to meet Taylor fan with Sunshine Coast Yowie. Oh, yeah, Australian Yowie sightings. Okay, let's go into that one. So that's what you do. Dean Harrison's little thing. You can go look it up yourself. And it pops up there and with everything. Newspaper clips, witnesses sketch, footprints, Yowie signs, picture gallery. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let's have a look at picture gallery. Looks like there's anything exciting. Oh, here comes my favourite Yowie. You a Yowie? Might be put it up. Look, there he is. See the nose? Look, you can just see the nose. That's Mr. Dog. Want to come up here? Oh, come here, big thing. Oh, God, you're getting old. But get up. Say hello on camera. Look, there he is. Look, aren't you going to say hello on camera? Look. Hello. Say hello. Big old sniff. Gridon said, look, what? Just think of rain. It's been out there in the rain. Abercrombie River. Oh, okay. What's this one? New South Wales. Geez, man, I've read all these before. Who wants to start somewhere else? All right, we'll start somewhere else. Multimedia reports. All right, okay. New South. You're right. We'll do New South Wales. Why not? Abercrombie River, New South Wales. 1,441 hits. What's it near? Abercrombie River is south of Bathurst, heading down towards Goulburn. Actually, we've got a map here. Yeah, we actually do, actually. Abercrombie River. It's right here. We've got it right here. Let's see if this... Don't want to drop the camera, do we? Let's have a look. It should be on this Bathurst map. I just brought him back down there from Bathurst. No, hang on. No, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Anyway, it's just me mucking around in my music in the background. What's that one? Yeah, there we go. Where are we? That's Bathurst. There's Abercrombie River down here. That's it down here. So, might come up on the map. I don't know if it's showing it. You can see there's blue waterways in it. So that's where that is. Well, it's just down the south. Righto. Mr. Dog's walking away. Righto. Let's have a gander. Abercrombie River, New South Wales. Footprint and possible encounter 1999, day and night. Hi, AYR. This is a picture that was taken by my mum and dad while walking along the Abercrombie River looking for an old gold mining shaft on private property. This was taken on a sandbar in the middle of the river. Not sure what the year around 1998, 1999. They both freaked out and headed back to their Toyota as they were rattled. Might be rattled too if I've seen something like that. You see the toes? Toes in the sand should be coming up. So we'll blow it up a bit. That's his thong. What we call a thong, you call a flip-flop. So it's got 1, 2, 3 great big distinct toes. Well, it's definitely not a kangaroo. It's definitely not an emu. An emu's just got a narrow bar. This has got a heel. So, right, okay. They went back the next day with a camera and a shotgun, but all the footprints were skewed. Kangaroo was obscured. I think the word should be obscured. Kangaroo prints and animals tracks destroyed the integrity of the prints. Many years before this, our whole family camped on the Abercrombie River for a long weekend. Mum and dad's boyfriends and girlfriends were 19 sisters and brothers and cousins. We were awoken in the middle of the night by the most deep-sounding roar and the sounds of something smashing through the scrub coming down the other side of the river, which had been a couple of 100 metres. was the most frightening sound. My cousin got up and rekindled the fire and sat with the gun in his hand. We sat and listened. We were freaking out. We were told one of the old farmers who lived on one of the homes on the property the next day, and he said they'd never go out at night without a shotgun. Now, apparently, that was mum and dad, boyfriends and girlfriends. We were 19, sisters and brothers and cousins. So that's when mum and dad were 19. So how old mum and dad are there then, I don't know. So they don't specifically say year. You like my TV in the background? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Right, let's go back to another one. Second one. Aboriginal POV, New South Wales, 2001. Event discussion from the Aboriginal POV point of view. Comment, we speak to various people with Aboriginal heritage and find their stories fascinating. A discussion of Aboriginal stories. I'm just going to turn this TV off. Is that a bit quieter? Yeah. Apart from all my junk in the background. Don't worry about my junk in the background. Let's just read stories. A discussion of Aboriginal stories, sightings of hairy men with some young Aboriginal men who lived in Fingal and other areas. Now, Fingal is straight across from the New South Wales-Queensland border, where that meets, right on the border of the ocean, which is called Point Danger. It's got like a cup on it like that. And Point Danger comes out there. Then there's the Tweed River. And you go South Tweed over there around the bend, but the river actually goes down. Well, that's Fingal, right? So it's right opposite, right below the Gold Coast, right? Fingal and other areas. K, the old people can communicate with them. The old people send them messages and things. They talk a lot about the little fellas. And we say fellas, not they say F-U-L-L-A-S, fellas, not little fellas. A little fella is a little male boy human. Little fella. A little fella means it's not a human, it's a fella. It's an animal. But anyway, the hairy men are bigger and just like a separate tribe of people. See? Just like the Aboriginal tribes, the old people say they are more human than animals. The Aboriginals, we do not see ourselves as far from nature or the land. Hence, hairy man is another type of animal. Just like humans are animals, and just as human beings live in societies, they were seen to be in groups like tribes, but they didn't really interact with the Aborigines. Generally, they would run off into the deep scrub. One or two, usually of the smaller ones, has attacked some men on mission. On a mission. Now, that's not a mission doing a job. That's a mission like as in a church mission area, right? That sort of mission. There are two types of small ones. One type, nice and take care of children and injured people. And the other ones are very aggressive and naughty. I remember one time they let off people's handbrakes and cars started rolling down the hill. Really mischievous ones. Always playing games. If you cross them, they get a bit snaky. Now, getting a bit snaky means they get a bit dirty, a bit sneaky. It's like snaky, that's what they call snaky in Aboriginal, right? B, the area that my parents from in West New South Wales. Now, there's a lady called B, right? Or a person called B. Mostly the smaller ones in that area. Now back to K. In my encounter, one thing that stood out was the eyes of big brown eyes, but a blank expression on its face. I remembered it so clearly. It looked straight at me. It had no expression whatsoever. I miss the dog down here trying to get a bit of attention because he hears me talking from someone else home. Looked straight at me. It had no expression whatsoever. It makes me think now that may have been sick. One of my cousins married a girl from Casino. Now, Casino is northern New South Wales, directly west of Tweed Heads on the Queensland border. Which, so if the Queensland border goes across, you then come down to Casino, which is above that is a town called Wollongong. Now, Wollongong is a very hot place there for yowie sightings. So we've got yowie markets and yowie grocery shops and whatever, yowie whatever. Yowie footpaths and signs of yowies all around the place. So look up Wollongong, Woodenbong, like a bomb, right? Casino, her grandmother had been had brought her up. They went to live in Newcastle. It was a few months before they contacted her grandmother. They were laying in bed one night and they heard footprints running around the house. She reckons that her grandmother used to talk to one. Hang on, wait a minute. How does it make sense? One of my cousins married a girl from Casino. Her grandmother had brought her up. They went to live in Newcastle. It was a few months before they contacted her grandmother that they were laying in bed one night and they talked to one, and she had set it up to check up on them to make sure that she was okay. The girl got up straight away and rang her grandmother, who said to her, "Oh, he's got there. Oh, so he got there, did he? He was checking up on you. We're not sure if they travel through time, but they are spiritual." Oh, so in other words, the granddaughters moved down to Newcastle in the city, Newcastle City, north of Sydney. And the grandmother's up there at Casino saying that the yowies come down to her spiritually or tell her, transport it down. My cousin, B, this is B, this person called B. My cousin, when he was a young boy, he used to go away all day and he was playing with the hairy ones. We saw one sitting on a 10-gallon drum, just swinging his legs. Okay. We are brought up with the spiritual awareness. Half of our whole life is the spiritual side. Even people who have only lived in the city are aware. Little ones are the spiritual, but not the big hairy men. You can touch them and smell them. When I was standing in front of that one, it didn't even register until he looked up straight into my eyes, and that's when I froze. I grabbed E. We were all around him, and then he screamed. That was when we took off. The old ones always told us not to go down by the lagoon, as that is where the hairy man lives. It makes sense. They have plenty to live off: fish, shellfish, and bush food. There's plenty of plants and wallaby. Well, wallabies are easy to grab. In the old days, they tell us of one hairy man that used to live in a cave down on the beach. I think this might be Fingal. When the people were going up into the mountains to hunt for the other food, they would leave their fishing spears and other else they didn't need in the cave, and the hairy men would look after them until they came back. They used to talk to each other. Should I say communicate, as I don't know what language they used. When the white people came, so this is before the white men showed up, so started building, there was an old shed, and the hairy man shifted from the cave into the shed, and he was still solitary most of the time. Solitary. Okay. My dad and one of my uncles used to come home from primary school every day for lunch. On one day, they were screaming and mucking around, and the hairy fella came out of the bush waving a stick at them. They must have annoyed him with their noise. They were hysterical by the time they got home, and they didn't want to go back to school. But my grandma made them go back. My dad's 50 now, so it would have been in the late 50s, early 60s. Now, I know Fingal. So Fingal back when I was up there in 1968 was just a bunch of few five-row houses along this finger point of a Tweed River on this side and the ocean on this side. And it used to go up like that, and the Tweed River went up and then went out into the ocean. So I know exactly where they are, what they're talking about. Go and look up Fingal Head and Fingal, and a town called Chindera, Chinderah. And then you see the Pacific Highway goes below the upper. There were three of us camping, and we would have been about 11 or 12, and there was something up in the tree, shaking the tree. We had a dog with us. The thing jumped down and ran behind the tree. The dog chased it. We heard a big thud. The dog came back with a broken shoulder. The thing would have been about my size, about a metre high, sitting down. They vary in height. It wasn't it wasn't a big hairy man. One about one. In the west, we have. I've got a nose down here. Can you see the nose? Look, lift your nose up, dog. Got to get you on camera. Anyway, you want to see? Look, this is what he does. He comes in here. Sorry to interrupt, but look. Where you going, snob? Don't you see me shorts on? He doesn't like the camera. As soon as you put a camera on him, he's gone. 1.5 metre, and we don't around here. We don't have very tall ones. In the west, we had a weird. Oh, we had a weir. Made of rocks, where we put the fish traps. One day the water was very low and we're jumping from rock to rock. For one, I had almost a 2 metre jump. So I backed up a bit to get a run up and leap to the other side. When I got to the other side, I could feel something. There was a full moon, and it would have been about 8 o'clock. I could see it in running across the road. It still had kilometres to walk. I still had kilometres to walk home. It was about a 2 foot tall. Does that make sense? I leapt to the other side. When I got to the other side, I could feel something. There was a full moon. It would have been about 8 o'clock. I could see it running across the road. I still had so many kilometres to walk home. It was about 2 foot tall. A lot of areas like Fingal and that all have their own stories, different missions, different stories. On the south coast, they have stories about them picking up dogs and showing them. I remember one story of my grandmother when she was little, and her mother and some of the other women went down to the creek. They saw a mother and a baby hairy man, and they saw that the people, they moved out of the water and up into the bushes. What? Went down to the creek. They saw mother and baby hairy man. When they saw the people, the hairy man then moved out of the water and up into the bushes. I remember the last thing my grandmother said to me, the more and more the white people take away the bush, more and more they pull one out of the water. There was big floods. It was dead and washed down. The police, they come straight. Very famous because out of Coonabarabran we got the sighting out there that put it in the cells. It was going crazy, screaming and all. Some Chinese man just walked into the cell and let it out. Last year we were driving along the road by the cemetery, the place where Kay had his experience, and all things came flying out of the bush, and then bang, the car went up in the air. I turned to look out the back window, and nothing was there. If we had hit a roo or a wallaby, it would have got up. The thing wasn't as high as the bonnet, but it was fast. It was like driving over a wombat or boulder. But there aren't any wombats in this area, and the road is flat and it doesn't do any damage to the vehicle. Well, that's quite true, because the road from Chindra to Fingal is just dead flat, and either side of it is sand and scrub, and there's just nothing there. As I said, it's on a point of land. It just goes out like that, and it's just a big long sandbar, and that's it. It's a hard road. And the scrub and the wombats don't like sand because they like to eat grub, so they'll be back. I think the nearest wombat you'd probably find would be down around Wollumbar, down towards Bray Park, back up in the foothills. You won't find wombats around Benora Point or Tweed Heads or anything like that. So many cars have just been knocked off. You got the Putty Road. I was up the Putty Road there the other week. Sorry, no, going out to Bathurst to where did I go? Oberon. And there was a dead wombat there on the side of the road. And the wombat is about that long, and he would have been about a metre high. And he was just rolled up and his legs up in the air like this, and he popped up. Yeah, so that's what happens. Just a mirror message. Wombats dead in their tracks. They started growling. We could smell something. I sent my wife and kids back up the road as I heard branches cracking as something came towards the road through the bush. But it stopped and didn't come out of the bush. All other experiences happen in areas. Like he is just warning us not to stay in the space too long. Now, where that was at, I have no idea. That could probably be Fingal. What's the name? Bunyips. So this heading used to have bunyips. At home, we call them the devil dog. Another name is the water dog. We have one in the start of the Darling River, a black thing in the river. The Darling River. Well, the Darling River's in the outback. So if you're going to go find your darling, that's where your darling is. It's out there, darling. We've seen it. One of the dad's mates was sitting on the bank talking to one of his neighbours, and this thing dropped out of a tree straight into the water. Another time, this thing was on the bank, a black thing. They jumped into Land Cruiser and started driving towards it with the lights on and beeping the horn to try and scare it. It didn't move. Then all of a sudden, it just slithered into the water. There you go. Well, that's a bunyip. All right. All right. Let's see what else you got. Alstonville. Alstonville is up there next to Lismore, going from Lismore to Bangalore, and then Bangalore. 1997. Hi, Dean. I was fishing with my partner at the time. We made our way through the dense riparian. He walks up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Mr. Dog, he's unbelievable. He's upset with the storm. Well, was a storm. Fishing with my partner at the time when we made our way through the dense riparian zone of our secluded fishing spot, when an animal that looked like a cross between a wombat and a pig scurried along in front of us and disappeared into the weed pit, thinking that it was a little bit strange. But we carried onto the creek bed that was rocky and had several platypuses active at the time. Now, the thing about a platypus, will only live in pure, clean water. So if you're fishing there, you know there's no contamination whatsoever. But also, a lot of people don't realise a platypus is actually quite poisonous. They've got 2 poison teeth in their bills, so when they bite you, you can actually get very sick from it. A lot of people don't realise platypus is venomous. We started fishing, and there was a crashing sound of something large breaking the twigs and heading for us through the weed thicket. I advised my partner to jump into the water if a pig came crashing through, but the noise stopped about 10 to 20 feet away at the creek's edge. It was hidden in the lantana thicket, but I could see brown fur with a definite reddish tinge and what I believe would be the chest area. I could not make out the face, but the eyes were diamond shaped and looked like looking into mirrors. I would say the creature would be about 6.5 to 7 foot tall. As I was looking up, when I saw the mirror-like eyes, I'm about 5'11". The chest area where I saw the reddish fur and seemed to be quite broad, as it was tall. The shaggy hair was similar to that of a goat, matted and discoloured. I felt fear, not that I was in danger, but just not to approach the creature. After about 10 seconds of being semi-frozen, with my partner getting a little worried, then it disappeared with a little noise. Other observations, other people in the Alstonville. Now, if you want to look it up, it's Alston Ville, Ville. Also New South Wales, Australia. Also described the red tinge on the chest, as well as there being several volcanic cave systems in the area that may act as sanctuary for these creatures. If I had a gun, I would have shot it. I think not, as I believe the fear I felt was from some low level telepathy that installs fear. The clouds the creature's face, as the face was sort of in view, but all I could make out were these mirrors. And his name was Trent. So there we go. 33 minutes. Okay, we'll go for 45 minutes. Ashford. Now, Ashford is from there. So if you've got Byron Bay, Ballina, Lismore Casino, you then cut across over the mountain ranges to Glen Innes. And the Norfolk Glen Innes is Tenterfield, or Ashford is still west of that, which is just north of Inverell, which is just south of the Queensland border. So we're up the top western part of New South Wales. 1980, time 9 to 10 p.m. My family and I were down, well, this is a river I've actually been on, the Severn River, Severn. I've actually got a picture on my railway bridges there. This is a Severn River bridge, and I put it up there and I said, oh, it's a so-and-so river, and the guy wrote back said, no, that's the Severn River bridge. I used to play on it when I was a kid. So I've seen how many people take along to catch me out, but they did, they found it. We're down the Severn River, fishing at the McIntyre River Junction. My brother and I had set up some lines further up the river, and we went up to check the lines at night. We had an old dolphin torch that was dim. A couple of 100 metres up the river, there was some steep country. There was a gap in the rocks that we would go under and come up onto a steep part of the river bank, which levelled out above. Just as we came through the rocks and onto the steep part of the bank, it was about 5 metres, this thing has taken off up the bank. The bank was about a 45-degree incline. It was human type figure. It was too steep to walk. It was going up using its arms and legs as you would if I would if we were in a hurry, using hands. It was a dirty brown cappuccino type of colour, dirty, patchy, non-uniform colour. It was hairy all over. It had darker streaks here and there, and it was very hairy all over. Hard to say, maybe 3 to 4 centimetres, shaggy in patches. We've grown up off farms and grown up in the bush, and we know what a fox smells like and what a pig smells like, and you know what a goat smells like. This thing was absolutely putrid with a smell of BO occasionally. You run into somebody that was really, really, really bad BO. But if you times that by about 5. That's how bad this thing was. It wasn't like the smell of any other animals was smelt. So that's an interesting point. If he's walked out from out this hole and this thing's run up a hill and you can smell it downwind, it must be pretty bloody bad. It had nowhere else to go other than that up a 45-degree angle bank. The height was hard to gauge because it was on all fours getting up the bank as quickly as possible. Could. My guess would be about 6, 7 foot. It was bloody solid. It was heavily built. I don't care how hairy a goat is. But when you see a goat running up a hill, there's not much legs on there, is there? This was no goat. It was almost like a gorilla build, really thick and especially in the chest. A few weeks ago, I found a print in a cow pack, which is a cow turd, only 6 or 7 kilometres away from my 1980 sighting. I was out doing some spraying, looking over, and then I looked like a footprint. I walked over for a closer look, and the footprint was in the middle of a cow paddock. Well, that's interesting. I'll blow it up and I'll show you. So that's a cow pad. Oh yes, a dried out white cow pad. We do have cow pads in Australia, do look rather white, so don't say it's putty, it's not. It's got a heel, and then you can see the one toe up there and the 2 toes out the front. There's the other one under it. Same one again, different angle. I'll shrink it down for you. So that'll be a little fella because his boot's next to it. He looks like he's got about a size 10 boot. Most frustrating part is where the toes are. It's right at the edge of it. From what I can see, you can where the little toe is, but you can't clearly see the others. Where I found the footprint, we only just a week before found 3 dead calves in the paddock and what was left of them. On one other occasion, I swear I saw a panther I saw a panther or a bloody big cat 6 foot long. That was nowhere near there. So this one here was, as I said, out the west at Ashford. So right out there in the scrub. If you don't know where Ashford is, I'll just show you the map that they put on. You might be able to see it if you really want to have a look. You can sort of see there's Glen Innes and there's Stanthorpe, Queensland up here. That's Ashford. There's Inverell. That's Armadale down the bottom down here. And Byron Bay over this way. Anyway, let's just looking off the phone. That was 1980. So, I mean, that's 40 years ago. Ashford again, same place, 2008, time 3 p.m. So now, whether this is the same guy, no, this is a different story. My mate and I were out cod fishing up the Severn River with my father and his mate. When rain had set in, we decided to pack up the canoes and leave about 2:30 with the second car following. As we drove from Ashford along Bonshaw Road towards the Bruxner Highway. Now, the Bruxner Highway is the road that goes from Moree and comes up towards the Queensland border and comes out about 10 k's north of Tenterfield. And then the Bruxner Highway is on top of the New England Highway into Tenterfield. Then the Bruxner Highway goes east from Tenterfield to Casino. That's how far that is. It's a very long highway. and it overlaps New England and does a dog leg. It does that sort of, it goes right up near the Queensland border. There's a couple little towns up there where people haven't even got a corner shop. They've got to drive 50 k's to the nearest grocery store, 50, 60 miles. There's no corner shops, there's no towns, it's just little pocket farms. It's that isolated. It's not like where you are in America, you can drive 2 or 3 k's or 5 k's, 10 k's to be a service station. This is isolated. This is between you got the Pacific Highway, you got the New England Highway, which is over the mountain on the inland road from Sydney to Brisbane, and then you got the next north to south highway, which is up there through Moree. Well, the Bruxner runs right across the top of those and joins all 3 of them, and just underneath the Queensland border. So because it's so far out of Sydney and so far down out of Queensland, there's no real business out there. There's no nothing. Ashland Road towards the Bruxner Highway. It was now drizzling and there were long stretches of roadworks and along the road. We were a fair way in front of my father's car on a long stretch of road with not much bush or anything in the sight. We were between Bonshaw and Ashford, and there was nothing out there other than the odd abandoned homestead. Wasn't that what I just said? About 500 metres in the distance, both of us noticed what looked like a person walking up the middle of the dirt road due to roadworks, wearing what looked like a full black baggy long pants and a hoodie. We both commented, who the hell would be walking out here in the middle of nowhere? So we got closer, say about 100 metres. It veered off down into the creek culvert, and I remember it as clear as day. My mate and I looked at each other and said, that's a bit weird. It was drizzling with rain, and there's no trees out here, and it's barren farmland. It was all black. We slowed from a pretty good view because there was no bush or anything around there. Then all of a sudden, this thing slowly stuck its head up out of the grass. The grass would have been about 3 to 4 foot and was old dry reeds. This thing popped its head up and looked at us and slowly lowered its head. And then its head popped up and popped down. And we had a bloody good look at it because we weren't far away from it, probably about 20 metres away from us. That was strange. This was all black. It had no face of it. When we talk about it between us, we still cannot explain what we saw apart from saying that it did not look like a person, but the faces are black with no neck. It was on the passenger side of the gully of my mates looking at me and said, what the F is that? It still sends the wind up me every time we talk about it. It was the old circumstances in the middle of nowhere where we say we should have gone back and found out what it was. Its face was all black. Even 20 metres away, you could see somebody's face. It didn't look like a hoodie or anything like that. It's just a very dark face with us and facing towards us. It wasn't the size of a large person, it was smaller. It was a bit hard to gauge. When we first saw this distance, we thought it was a person, and we saw the closer it slowly raised its head and lowered as it like in slow motion, and we couldn't explain what it was. We could see that the head down to the shoulders. It was something we could never explain. There is one other event in 2010 I experienced that stands out in my father's fishing again, in the area we're not supposed to go to, at Canungra Army Reserve. Now this is Canungra Army Base. Again, this is another one. We've got the one up there where the guy's driving the truck down and it jumped out rolled down the side of the hill and landed, hit the bonnet of the truck, and the guy was looking at his belly button on the bonnet of the truck. Big red. We spooked something up in the bush and we were paddling along in our canoe up the river. It took off at a great rate and knots under the canopy and make us cruise up. What? We spooked something up in the bush as we paddled along in our canoe up the river. It took off at a great rate of knots. It took off a great rate of knots under the canopy and make a ruckus up the hill. We pulled up further, perhaps 500 metres, and came back and startled it again. Again, it went up the hill. We went down further underneath the bridge and did some more fishing. We both commented on having the feeling someone was watching us. Then we heard some noises from up in the bushes. We probably heard about 5 or 6 times. Would shine a torch, but we couldn't see anything. We could hear small sticks being broken, getting louder and louder. After about 20 minutes, we've had enough. We did not visually see anything, but a large was thrown down and hit the water near the canoe. This thing stalked us about 200 metres from the top of the hill. Whatever it was, it did not want us there. So there you go. And that was up at Canungra. So if you want to see where Canungra is up in Queensland, just west of that. But I can show you where Ashford is on a map if you want to see a map. And what was the other one he said? What was the town he just said? God, I forget. Yeah, Canungra. Yeah. We've got our big map over here. We can just have a quick look. We've got Smiling Water again. So, what's this one? Big old map. This might cover it. This is one of the good old-fashioned maps. You can't get these anymore. They don't sell them. Everybody's got mobile phones. These are collector's items. This must be about 30 years old. Oh, that's what I was going to show you was Tenterfield. Let's see if we can get it down here so I can remember. Let's bring the camera down here. We'll give you a look. Just so you, when they're talking about that one there on the Bruxner Highway, right, that's Tenterfield. That's the Bruxner Highway there. See, you can see 10. See, you can see the word 10, right? Tenterfield, right? So you come in from the coast this way, and the Bruxner goes on top of the New England, and it comes across here. And this is what I said he was talking about. He was out there in the middle of nowhere. And then you've got, there's Bogabilla, which is the one on the news at the moment, and Gundawindi. Moree is over here. So I'll put my finger there, right? And then we come back over here to Tenterfield. So this is the road here he's talking about. This is that isolated road. He said, well, he jumped off the road and went down into the creek. Look, you can see the waterways there, look. Right? So that's the Bruxner Highway there. So that's exactly what he's talking about. Bruxner, Bruxner. So you can see the word New South Wales, which we there, and that says Queensland. So there's the border there. Anyway, well, there you go. So that's 51 minutes there on that one. Oh, what's his name? I did say, but I'll show you where the other one was. I think that's here. I can't see this bloody thing. It's too dark. Well, there's Glen Innes. Now that's Glen Innes here. That's Tenterfield there. And then we go west. This is out here where he said he found the one in the cow pad. This is out in this sort of country. So there's no real towns around. Right? So you go and look at, oh yeah, there it is, Ashford. There it is there, Ashford. There's the A. I can see it. So that's what sort of isolated little, see, it's got the Severn River, which I'm looking backwards on the map, which is that one, I think. Can't really see it. I don't have a torch, not bright enough. But anyway, you can Google that if you really want to go Google it. Anyway, so that's it there from me, Mr. Hominoid. Yowie story time. Let's roll that up in front of your face. That's like it. It's an old bloke like me said we had things like this. So these young YouTubers, they all get out there and they pull out all their modern technology. And they've got to slide the screen across, and then of course then it reflects. Look at that for an old map. Look at that old thing. NRMA. Anyway, that's an old tourist map. Yes, me travelling around Australia like I did. Miss Maradog and I, that's when I travelled around Australia. That's at a town called North Richmond. You know, I'll just pull a couple of photos here out of a blank spot. Just at a random, right? That's exactly where that was. Two dogs there playing in the park, in the grass. That was Raymond Terrace. You go up to Newcastle, you come out, you go over the river, Hunter River, and then you go up and there's Raymond Terrace on your left. You've got to turn left to go into Raymond Terrace. There's a BP. Then you turn left and go down the main street. You see all the shops, the ANZ Bank. Then you turn right and you come down to the old ferry. The old ferry used to be back in 1900. And that's where I parked, just down there, up there from the ferry. And the dogs stayed out of the motorhome bus and the dogs are playing in the grass. And behind that over there, that's the river. So that's where that was. And that photo was taken about 25 years ago. So, and if you want to see how big my bus was, here's how big my bus was. Big old 1973 Bedford. So there you go. So if you ever seen me big old bus around with Yay Old Nelly written on it, let me know. That's what she looks like. I'm looking for it. It's a limey green sort of colour. I don't know where it's gone to. Love to get it back. Anyway, that's it there from me. Take a 55 minutes. See you later. Hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, I did travel around Australia. I went to Cairns, went down to Melbourne, and travel around everywhere. And a couple of Yowie stories. Seen them on Mr. Hominoid. I better start doing Yowie stories again. Nobody's watching them anymore. So a lot of people like watching my Yowie stories. So leave me a comment. You want to hear more Yowie stories? We'll do some more. Or if you have a Yowie story, or a Bigfoot, or a Yeti story, or something else from around the world, I will look it up on a map and see where it is and what country you're in and whatever else. I'll do the research on it. I'm a little channel, but I'm a happy little channel. So we don't push and buy and, you know, shove things down your throat and all the rest of it. Just an old man just having fun. So if you like it, thanks. Thanks for watching. Mr. Hominoid at Gmail. Like my YouTube name, Mr. Hominoid at gmail.com. So that's all you got to write your email to, and I'll get it. No more PO boxes, no nothing. Just Mr. Hominoid at Gmail. All right. So yeah. Or M Hominoid on Messenger. You'll find me on Messenger. I gave up Facebook. I just got Messenger. You'll find me on Messenger. You'll find Mr. M Hominoid. And they can't put an MR on Messenger. It's just M Hominoid. So take care. Look after yourselves.